For Yanzaka breaking news to be Yamishra on your Kesi. Sammy Gyemfi and a chief of staff at Tony South friend. Na TV3 and a break his asimo more day discussion. Now Obiboka says Sammy Gyemfi, why there a man for Sammy Gyemfi all trending na a man for she say and can be relieving from office and your best sacking from good board because unim the entire omokasa. Because code of conduct and ye lunch no not less than it's not less than a new I think say one month crane yes. Ain't a man for say Sammy Gyemfi could know better. The code of conduct, it comes with sanctions, sacking, relief from office because of this issue, or more discussing TV3 discussing. Masako for code of conduct a fairly so for Kusukwache and in paying format say discussing a year code of conduct. It comes with sanction. A whole video anymore. Made the video no adjoining said a bear open code of conduct na omudi can discuss it comes with even one declare was it a sanction. Anything that you breach in the code of conduct comes with sanction. It's a couple of videos now. A course so Sammy Gyemfi Emma a year agrada a year Dallas. Now I say anka any issue, but Ghana for problem they say a year Dallas now or the man no and Dallas could be much more like almost agrada because say 10,000. But say was $800. It Ghana for problem yanze agrada precisely this kind of man no agrada end of a year 2024 year kwa election no agrada kikan semhunu kwasi asem sorry niema emfata the president of the republic as agrada semo beka no ebusia wuti bia nka abun say Sammy Gyemfi could know better and Ghana for kasa say o makasa nsem na ma Chief Deborah. Yeah, Chief Deborah, which is Chief of Staff at Tony South and then there is a Umbra Jubilee House. But according to code of conduct, in BTB in some affiliates so for that is a dear Sammy Gyemfi stand to be sanctioned or not. Yebeka kuti na also want make judgment. Video no channel now will make you judgment. This is a Sammy Gyemfi act no. He should be released from office or because said the Ghana for Kasano Amas a chief of staff a friend here a couple of videos no so you could see a year in summer. God bless
Mana budi ni na mama anaye. Fani na mama ina mama dawo. Anya go. Arabo. Tole se was Sammy Gyemfi. Yes. Who say woman go? Kai. Monday. Mana budi ni na mama anaye. Fani na mama ina mama dawo. Anya go. Arabo. Tole se was Sammy Gyemfi. Yes. Who say woman go? Kai. Monday.
To create a government or a government that reflects the principles of probity and accountability. Now, I need to add that in this country, we play politics with everything. But I'm also a bit surprised that people want to compare this with the Anabo Abinadapa saga. They are very different, as in the circumstances are very different, and we must not play politics, in my view, with everything. I think that for me, and I say the biggest stick, my take, what I take home with what has happened is the indication that the people of Ghana have given to our politicians. At least right now, we are not going to play games. Yeah. They are going to hold you to an extremely high standard if we see you dashing $100, we are going to question you.
So it means that now the standards for the ordinary Ghanaian for those in public office is very
because if you read literature on how you sustain democracy, I think it is beyond contestation that you can only sustain your democracy if you have a citizenry that participates in the democratic effort. Understand? And our role is to hold people we granted our powers to accountable. And that's exactly the indication that people of Ghana have given to our politicians now. And I said another very massive positive is the reaction of Sammy Gyemfi. And I must commend him for how he's reacted. And I hope that he and everybody who has been granted the privilege of using the powers we have granted them will understand that they must not depart from the purpose of those powers, that is, to serve the interests of the people of this country.
Dr. Tutuwai.
Yes, Roland.
A lot of uproar on social media. Sammy has apologized, though, but now, well, what we're getting from some sources in the media is that the chief of staff has hauled him before him. What do you make of the reactions for and against? Those say that hang him and let him hang there to dry.
All right. So once again, good morning to our viewers and social media followers. And I think that, yes, the reactions from government, the reactions from the NDC base, and the reaction from the public are all indicative of the fact that, government appointees would have to be careful, and they should observe good ethical, moral standards, going forward. And, as Eduji and lawyer have all indicated, lawyer Pierre Dankwa have all indicated, it's about the public now, setting a new direction for our governance structures. All right. And what it means is that people are now interested, or they are becoming actively involved in politics, as against the days where, people could behave anyhow. Government appointees would take certain laws and authority into their own hands and call the bluff of the ordinary Ghanaian. The introduction of the Code of Conduct for Government Appointees, is a check. And as lawyer Eduji said, he has made it his Bible. And so it is a call on all public office holders, including government appointees, to equally read these standards. And there's a particular place that I like, when you check the ministerial conduct.
You mean the Code of Conduct? The
Code of Conduct. Okay. There's a section that is 1.1. And the 1.1D, I just want to be quick with it. And this is what it says, that ministerial or government appointees should act honestly and in a manner that maintains government's integrity, objectivity, and impartiality. And my focus is on the integrity, right? Because integrity is everything. So for the NDC government to succeed or to probably fail in government depends on acts of its appointees and supporters, its leadership, on maintaining the integrity of the NDC in government. And that is very important. So any other acts, probably including giving out monies or receiving monies, probably whether we are giving it as a gift or receiving it as a gift or giving it as a bribe, would undermine the basic integrity of the party and government. And if you are not careful, that would be a problem for your government. And then when we check 1.2E.
1.2E.
E, yes.
I want to go along with you. So
exactly.
Since you are the lecturer here, so that will be.
Yeah. So that one also says that
I don't know why
comport himself or herself in a manner befitting the trust and confidence placed on him or her.
Comport himself or herself in a manner befitting the trust and confidence placed in him or her.
Yes. So
why is that significant?
Yes. So trust is very important, just as integrity is important, right? Now, for voters to, follow you, the 1.7 million voters, to follow you and, keep you in trust. It is about your behavior and the confidence that you have in it, all right? So anything, any actions or inactions that would take away this kind of confidence and integrity, I mean, it will actually affect, the moral fiber, of the party. And if you are not careful, voters, the way they are behaving these days, is that they can decide to switch. And if they are switching and it becomes a kind of exodus, and that one will be very disastrous.
They go in droves.
Yes.
And mass.
Mass, So I feel that it is very instructive for, the government appointees to be circumspect and then actually focus, on the things that they are supposed to be doing, whether you are out, whether you are even speaking on phone. Because these days, technology has come a long way to the point that if you are not even careful, a joke that you are sharing with a colleague, a friend, when it hits, the public space, it will create a lot of problems for you. Now, to the reactions from the government side, I feel that it has been swift. The call by, what's the name? Chief of Staff, to summon, lawyer Sammy Gyemfi, probably to listen to him or probably to caution him is in good order. I wouldn't say that, the public sentiment that the man should be sacked or should be relieved of his position, is something that should be done. All right. As you move, people will pick experiences. People will fall. But the most important thing is that when you fall, you rise up, and then you probably do things better next time. And so it is good that it has happened, because at least Lawyer BG has confirmed that for him, it is a sign, it is a caution to him in particular. And so I believe that all other appointees will also know, because if Sammy's experience hadn't occurred, what it means is that probably some people might have done something in future which probably will not augur well for the party at all. So this is a wake-up call, all right, to everyone, to there. And I feel that in as much as, the Chief of Staff has summoned Sammy Gyemfi, before him, I think that probably certain facts shall be laid bare to him, and he would also accept whatever criticism coming to him in good faith, and it will help him to order or reorder his steps, going forward. And I think that it is the future that matters, but not the present.
Not lie in the mouth of the mass from the Auditor General, but when you compare it to the list that the Auditor General submitted, you find that there were omissions. I'm sure they were inadvertent omissions. So we will reconcile all of that, and then we'll be certain of who has done what, and then the actions will be taken. Yes.
I see. Now, because you wanted to...
Yeah, Mr. Kesi, when you use the word sum, it can create a number like maybe out of the 40, 35 presented. Let's be clear, near ahead of only Adam Bona. So what's the number of those who
there
said?
was no judges fee. There were so many of them.
Two. In fact, there were two. So let's
there were
by
quite a
the
number.
time we are done, let's know the number, because this
it is not a problem.
We're here.
It is not a problem.
Also two.
It is
ahead of Adam Bona.
it is not just two.
But
it is
so,
not a problem.
Mr. Okosu,
Yes.
let's be very clear. You see, I supported President Mahama, no doubt. But it doesn't mean that once he's in office, everything he does will continue support, even when it flies in the face of the Constitution. I don't know why he keeps saying that they should do it. He doesn't have that power. It's not within. It can't come from him. It can't come from President Mahama giving extensions. The constitution is clear that before the person takes office, what is this is doing? You see, you do this and then the fire will start like that. I don't know who advises the president.
No, it's not. Hold on, Martin.
I'm coming. Let me finish.
Hold on, Martin. I know that provision.
Before taking office,
but you know that there's an act.
And they acted this one.
Martin. Let's get the answer now. The law gives up to 6 months.
It's not law. That is not the law. This is the law. This is the constitution.
Hold on, Martin. But why? You see, the law gives up to 6 months for you to have done it. If after 6 months you have not done it, there are sanctions. You get removed from your position, and then you are banned from occupying public office for 10 years. And exactly. So we need to go by the law.
No, that is not the law.
So let's read that. So Martin. Okay, I'll fetch it for you.
And I'm telling you that this is the bigger law. This is the constitution.
But there's an act that regulates this.
When the act is going contrary to the constitution.
But what's the specific provision that
this is 286 clause 1?
It is true. Okay. But there's an act that regulates this. It spells out what you need to do. President Mama is keen.
And the act is not subservient.
No, but Ken. So it is a matter that you need to seek interpretation for. You understand me? If there's a law that regulates a certain conduct, you go by it. You understand me? In fact, I will fetch the law for you presently. But he knows that what I'm saying is not a lie. He knows it.
No,
I'm not disputing.
It's not law.
I'm not disputing what you are saying, but I'm saying that there is a law. It's called what? Public Office.
Yes, 550.
Absolutely.
So it's contrary to the constitution.
But
it's not very clear.
But that pronouncement has to be made by a court that between this one and this one, you need to comply with that. What is that? Ken,
hierarchy of laws.
Ken, but no. But you are the lawyer. Tell me. So why was the need for the act to be passed?
Yes, so that's a mistake.
To explain.
Parliament makes mistakes all the time. There's a case I did. Number 3.
So as we speak, Martin, I'm asking you because as we speak, is there any pronouncement from the Supreme Court that says that complying with the act is unlawful? No. I'm not a lawyer. You understand me? So we need to tarry in the way that we say this thing. But the point is that President Mahama is very interested in getting people to comply with the law. It is the reason why for the first time in our history, he has sanctioned persons who have failed to do this. That is an indication of a new direction. So I cited the law to show you that this thing is regulated. It is not just left in the constitution. It is regulated. Indeed, the sanctions for not doing so are actually spelled out. So when he says that indeed it does not lie in the mouth of President Mahama to apply sanctions, it is actually true. But he has taken administrative measures.
So essentially, Lawyer Martin People is not wrong.
Yeah, it's not, but I'm also not wrong, actually. Yes.
And
I'm also not wrong. As I speak, if you show me a judicial pronouncement that says that complying with the act is unlawful, then what he's saying is justified.
Right.
But there's a reason why the act was passed. It was to clarify what the position was. And if you look at the act, it gives you up to 6 months to do it. And then spells out specific sanctions for failing to do so. Okay. But President Mahama, on February 18th, which is barely 6 weeks or so into his presidency, laid down this marker. Only last Monday, he publicly spelled out sanctions for those who had failed to comply. And then gave indication that further refusal to comply will attract stiffer sanctions. I am only making the point that there are people who have been appointed a day after that deadline was given. So it will not be fair to hold them to the same deadline. That's the point I'm making. That's why.
Yes. My reference was with those who had not declared before Monday. In fact,
yes,
beyond
they are going to be sanctioned. Yes.
Beyond the sanctions of their 3-month salary, forfeiting their 3-month salary, there was the call that they should have been sacked. You know, not giving.
Well, of course, those who.
I'm sure you've heard that.
I've heard. Oh, of course. It is a valid criticism, Alfred, and I don't begrudge those who say that. But of course, we have to start from somewhere. In the past, people flouted this without any consequence at all, and nobody said anything. We lamented it, and nothing was done. But this time, President Mahama is setting a certain tone that we need to comply with it. There's a reason why the asset declaration law is there. Some have even criticized the whole asset declaration regime and said that this is inadequate, and that because of the lack of checks and balances, unless, of course, some scandal emerges, you are not even sure whether what has been declared is actually accurate, and that the person is even telling the truth. In fact, when you file the forms, the Auditor General's legal departments, they go through the forms to make sure that you filled it properly before they seal it again.
Right.
Once that is sealed, it doesn't become public until you get into some trouble. And then a court or perhaps judge requests that they produce it.
in order to check. Some have argued that that is even inadequate and that there have to be ways of monitoring compliance with this and to see whether people are actually telling the truth and that they don't find ways to overstate their assets with a view to acquiring more in future. Some have criticized it. It is valid. So we can have a conversation about it. But the position of the law must be clear and set within the context of what the president is trying to do. We all agree here that no president under the Fourth Republic has taken any action against people who violate this law. Indeed, there are Supreme Court justices, some of whom who were appointed to become chief justices, who actually had not complied with this law when they went for vetting, and it became an issue. But there was no sanction applied to them. So
sanctions were applied more or less because Shrike came out and gave them opportunity to go and they suffered public shame.
Well, anyway, so in the same vein, at least in the same vein, those who criticize President Mama for deducting up to 4 months' salary.
Hi everyone, welcome to Chips and Chats.
This same act spells out.
Right.
So you can also have to be done structurally and properly. Whereas there is every cause to lament the exceptionally bad governance of the recent past, we must also acknowledge improvements over what we came to be. That is how societies are built. So take the Asset Declaration Law, for instance. There is an act which was passed by Parliament. That act is law. As we speak, it has not been struck down. So everybody complying with the Asset Declaration regime is guided by this act. If you go to Section 1, subsection 4C, it makes it clear.
Quoting from Act 550.
Act 550, 1998. It says that it shall be done in any event, it shall be submitted not later than 6 months of the occurrence of any event specified in this subsection. And the earlier subsections speak about before you get in, after every 4 years, and at the end of a term. But it says that in any event, after 6 months of the occurrence of any of these, if you don't do it, you are subject to the sanctions that this same act spells out.
Right.
So you cannot overlook this and say that any wrong has been done. What President Mama is doing actually is an enforcement before the legal deadline set in the law. So we cannot ask that we should disrespect the law. Again, when we come to the LI matter, I will explain. It is true that there's an LI that is problematic, but there are practical steps you need to take to achieve that. And to achieve that, you need to factor in everything that will happen the moment you do it. So I will explain what steps are being taken. So whereas I understand the demand for things to be done a certain way, we cannot overlook laws, processes, and systems. If there are challenges with those, then we can call for the laws to be changed. But for as long as they remain, the president and his government are bound. It is just like the GBA calling on the president to violate the constitution because they are unhappy that he has exercised it a certain way, when the president actually has not acted unlawfully. So the GBA is unhappy. They like a certain chief justice. So because of that, if the law says the president should act a certain way, he should not do so. You understand me? If we begin to push that narrative, it becomes problematic. But that said, we understand the demand for better governance. Indeed, it is precisely the reason why President Mama took up the challenge to become president again, to offer better governance. And so far, every fair, objective analyst would agree that he has done things much better than before. Can we do more? By all means, in fact, somebody should come who even does better than President Mama. Somebody should come who should do better than President Mama has done. And whoever replaces that person to should do better. That is the only way that we improve upon. So even as we demand better, we should also acknowledge improvements, which in this instance is clearly the case. That's the point that I'm making. Yes.
And the concern that Engineer Kenachibe raises is the benchmarking.
No, we are not benchmarking. No.
What are we benchmarking against?
But Alfred, if something was bad, what is the opposite of that? What is done after that should be good. Is that not so? So if in the past people were not being sanctioned, and today people are being sanctioned, is it not a clear improvement? Not so. No, you can say that the sanctions are not. Oh, excuse me, let me learn. You can say that the sanctions are not adequate. Fair comment, but you cannot dismiss the fact that we have moved from a position where there were no sanctions to a position where there were sanctions. In any event, President Mama has also stipulated that the sanctions that he applied last Monday are only the beginning, and that any further delay will attract even stiffer sanction. I think that this is fair, in my honest opinion. And I'm not dismissing their concern, but I'm only pointing out that there have been improvements, which we need to acknowledge. That is all. Yes.
So my point I'm making is that, you see, things happen in a band. So you could be an F student. Again, I'm saying it. You could be an F student, you are 25. Because the person who you are in the band with got negative 3. So the fact that you have moved to 25 doesn't mean you are still not in the F. The reset should be towards benchmarking the best. And so, yes, I agree there are improvements. Again, a typical example is the issue of galamsey. Yes, there's an improvement. But that improvement does not meet the mark of when we talk about the fact that we're resetting, then you're resetting to get to the positive. So in this particular situation, again, I would say that, I think that there's a conflict between the Constitution and this law. And that, so that one I would grant it to Felix, and Felix says they are going according to the law. But again, we should all be looking at our situation and say, in the situation that we find ourselves, where do we want to pander to? A constitution itself that is not tough enough, or a law that really, makes the situation worse. So you see, for all of us as citizens, we should be looking at being the best at everything we do. Okay. Not the fact that we are improving from some mediocrity that we have inherited.
Madam Susan, quick one on this. You talk about the concern, so that Felix Kwachef also raised about some of the CEOs of SOEs not even knowing that they are bound by this law of asset declaration. Ignorance of the law is no excuse, but then again, you talk about orientation, so that they know that this has to be done, so that they don't have the excuse.
1978, more than 46 years ago, you had this law. Europe, they had similar problems with corruption. If you read blah, 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 then they've improved. So they do asset declaration. So if you are doing an IMF deal and our civil society have fought that, let's do a new public code of conduct for public officers, blah, 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 you've put it in there. You should tie it to a certain disbursement. You just don't put it in. We've had 4 disbursements now, right? I think 4. No, they should have tied it that maybe by the 3rd disbursement. Tell you what's up, no good. To a specific disbursement that by the time you are coming for the 3rd tranche, you must have passed that law. I know that one and the BOG law. So the BOG to want to make the governor very independent. Like the way, even if not the American one, but the American one, the way they do it, you don't have they do it in such a way that presidents come and go, and some of the governors, their tenures go beyond the 4-year cycle. So at least there's that independence. But Ghana here, the way you change the government, the whole board goes, right? Those things, yes. So the thing is that it's an IMF conditionality as far as I'm aware. And Kufuor in 2023 said that at the bar conference. So if we Google, we've discussed these topics.
Yes. He said he was going to give a world class.
Yes. So that's a phrase in Cape Coast, near your constituency. He said world class bill, and then later Godfrey Dami came out and said he's the one in charge of drafting the bill, seeing to it, right? Then in 2024 September in Kumasi, Akufo-Addo said yes. Notwithstanding that he had just about 3 months to go, he was still very confident that he was going to pass it. So 2023, from world class to 2024, I'll pass it in the next 3 to 4 months before I leave. Then JM takes over, and in the 5th month, at the launch of this code, we don't hear anything about the bill. So what we beg is that Mr. Okan say, Abdallah, you guys should interview Godfrey Dami. Since Akufo-Addo said he was confident he will pass it in 3 to 4 months before leaving, let's see the bill Godfrey Dami left behind. Let's see it. And then let's ask Dr. Ayeni what is happening to that bill. Okay. Unless they went and had a new deal. My main point is that it's an IMF conditionality. I don't know. Have they renegotiated?